On this episode of Carnage, we say goodbye to the TROLVO. So, about 4 years ago, we started our Volvo 240 project. We bought it as an unfinished project. It had a 1JZ in it and an A340 auto. They were mounted, but nothing was hooked up at all right? We didn't know if it ran, we didn't know anything about it. In fact, the engine didn't even have a sump on it at the time. It had been sitting on a dirt floor shed, with no sump on it, so we didn't know the condition of the engine at all. But we took a gamble because it was cheap, all right? The car was cheap. The guy just wanted to get rid of it. And we thought, why not? Let's have a stab at this. So we talked to the guys at Howtech. They sent us out an Elite 2000 ECU. They sent us a terminated loom, pre-terminated loom that was more for a VVTi engine, but we thought we can make this work. And within 5 episodes, we had the thing up and running, sort of under its own power, but found out that the auto was trash. We put it on the dyno and found it was making absolutely no boost at all. The turbos were seized, so we had to convert it to single turbo. And we changed the auto and did a shift kit and that sort of thing, and took it to Summernats, had a blast, but found that the auto really wasn't healthy at all. It didn't have all the gears. But we did have some really good times at Summernats. We did some skids with it. We put it on the dyno and it made 490 horsepower at the hubs at Summernats. We still don't even know how that happened. But yeah, it was good times. So after that, we thought, all right, let's sort out this auto problem. We spent a few episodes going back and forth, trying to get this A340 deal working. Just couldn't manage it. So Simon from All Fast Converters and Transmissions in WA did us a Turbo 400, Transbrake Turbo 400 and a converter. We put that in and we took it to Portland and give it a bit of a blast down the quarter on the 8th mile just to see how this would go. And we ended up having to slow it down on the day because we were starting to nudge into the no-go zone because there was an Andra meeting and the car didn't have a cage. It still doesn't have a cage, more on that later. But yeah, we were starting to go into the no-go zone, and so we had to slow it down a bit. We had a blast with it. Then we brought it back, did a bit more tinkering with it, sorted out some boost control issues and that sort of thing. And then we started to send it hard, and in no time it was running 10s. And then we changed the turbo because we're already out of turbo. And then we ran high 9s with the 1JZ, which was amazing. I mean, when we bought the car, we thought it'd be cool if we could get this thing into the 10s, but when we realized it did 10s really easy, and it was like, holy crap, we could get this into the 9s, and then all of a sudden we're running 9s, and it still felt really easy, but then we discovered through the data log that it was having oil surge problems, those high G launches, it was lifting the wheels off the deck. Those high G launches were really causing it oil starvation. And we found a lot of metal in the bearings, so we decided to put a 2JZ in it, 2JZ bottom end, keeping the 1JZ head, building a 1.5J, and wow, that made a lot of power. 663 horsepower at the tyres, and then just easy 950 without even struggling. It's been a hell of a journey, I've got to say, for these 4 years. It has been a big journey. We've made a lot of mistakes, we've fixed a lot of things, and we had a lot of fun. And now we've built this car that is kind of ridiculous in that it launches with both wheels in the hot air. It runs mid-9s, but it is dangerous as f***. Standard suspension, okay? We've done shocks, that's it. It's running standard springs. It hasn't even had front shocks. I mean, look at it. It's a boat. Crossing the line at 140 plus mile an hour. I think we're nearly at 142 mile an hour. This thing is vibrating violently. It is not safe. And it needs some money put into it. And the fact is, not many people watch this car anymore, which is a shame. They made 3 million of these cars. 3 million Volvo 240s over the lifespan of the 240. and yet nobody watches a 240 that runs mid-nines. You know, it is up there in terms of quickest 240s in the world. I mean, there is some that are just ludicrous. There's some quick ones in Sweden, and there is a really fast one in the States, a wagon that runs 690s. But mid-nines out of a car with absolutely no suspension work done to it, with a, you know, 1.5J, 1.5J, I think it's pretty impressive, and it should get more views than it does, and it doesn't. That's just the sad reality. We can do a Commodore video, V6 Commodore video, and it'll get a lot more views than this. So we have to make a decision based off safety, based off popularity, to not continue with the Volvo, because it needs $10,000 spent on it, realistically. Cage, chute, suspension rebuild, and suspension mods to make it launch properly, you know, probably some wheel tubs. Yeah, it's going to add up pretty quick. And we'd rather put that money into a new project, which we have just bought another car the other day. We will show you that soon. And that is going to be a very cool project, but it's going to be something a lot more popular than the old Volvo, sad to say. So that's where we're at. I know a lot of people are going to hate the fact that we're giving up on the Volvo, but the reality is, you know, we've achieved everything we set out to do with this car. I mean, mid-nines, 142 mile an hour, it's not to be sneezed at. The car is amazing. It is fun. I've got to say it's fun, but it also feels sketchy as hell. I feel so much safer driving the Mazda than I do this. And the Mazda's pretty sketchy when you think about it. I mean, that car's running deep into the eights at over 160 mile an hour in a convertible. And this car feels safer. This car feels less safe, I should say. Less safe. It's a Volvo. It should feel safe, but it doesn't. So that's where we're at. So we were thinking about selling this as a complete running car, but we can't in good conscience do that. You know, you hand this off to a 20-year-old and he'll kill himself in it. Again, sad reality. Car is, I'm glad that I've been able to step it up gradually and learn what the car does on each run, but I couldn't hand this off to just anyone just to start launching it, no. So we're going to sell it in pieces. The 1JZ, 1.5J, we'll sell that off. We'll keep the transmission because it's really good, and we'll use that in something else. We'll probably keep a couple other parts. If someone wants to buy the shell off us, they can do that. But yeah, this is the end of the story for the Volvo, and it's a terrible way to go. It's not what we'd like to see, but it is what's going to happen. So, if you're interested in anything, let us know. If you want to buy the shell, let us know. If you want to buy the engine, let us know. Because yes, they will be both going up for sale very shortly, and we will move on to some new projects like the Lexan, which has been sitting here for a long time waiting for us to pay attention. The truth is, I've been putting more effort into the Volvo because I could see the end coming, and I thought, let's just finish it, get it done. But now that's done, we can move on to the Lexan, get this done. You know, Superman, we're going to move on to turbo very soon because we're done with the superchargers. It's just, you know, we'll give it one more go with the supercharger and then we'll move on to the turbo. The MX-5, we're going to go one last blast, go for 7s, but that needs some upgrades like new injectors and a few other things. We're going to give it a crack, try and send it to the 7-second zone, but then that's pretty much done as well. And then obviously Taxi's just sitting there waiting for us to organise a dyno session with Jason so we can take that out and run it finally, and finally run 10s with the Taxi. Yeah. And then we can move on to some other stuff. Obviously the Tirana's back there waiting for a Hemi, which I still haven't had the tick of approval for from the boss, but everyone seems to want it to happen, so I think that may happen. And then there's the new project, which is going to be very interesting, very fast, and street registered. And you're going to see that on a future episode of Carnage.